Alright, welcome again to another tutorial of the topic probabilities. So in this tutorial we're going to learn the concept of conditional probabilities. So if we know that an event has already occurred, or we have some partial information about the event, then this knowledge may affect the probability of the event of interest. For example, if we want to guess the probability if it is going to rain today, okay, so the answer will be different depending on whether we are sitting inside a windowless office or we are outside and can see the formation of the heavy clouds. Yaani ukitaka kutabiri leo mvua itanyesha au haitanyesha, itategemeana uko kwenye mazingira yapi. Kama uko ndani na uoni nje, uoni mawingu, jibu lako litakuwa sawa na mtu ambaye yuko nje na ameona hali ya mawingu. Kwa hiyo probability ya kwamba leo itanyesha inategemeana wewe uko kwenye mazingira gani. Inategemea condition, ndio tunaita nini? Conditional probability. Yeah, so this is a concept we study in this tutorial. So what is conditional probability? Conditional probability is the probability in which the occurrence of one event depends on the occurrence of another event. For example, kama mawingu ni mazito, that is the occurrence of one event. So the occurrence of another event, maki ni mvua kunyesha, itategemeana na mawingu yapoje. You see, conditional probability. So conditional probability is the definition nyingine unaweza kusema conditional probability is the probability of an event given that some other event has already occurred. So find the probability that it will rain today if the clouds are heavy. Ndio inaitwa nini? Conditional probability. You must give it a condition. If is for condition. Yeah. So consider the probability of an event B given that event A has already occurred. So the probability of event B given A has already occurred. Ndio inaandikwa hivi Yeah. Hii ndo symbol yake, denoted by hivi. So the probability of an event in relation to another event, hii ndo tunaita nini? Conditional probability. So hivi ndo jinsi inavyoandikwa. Okay? So in case sasa A and B are independent events, tulisoma kuhusu nini? Independent events. Hizi ni events ambazo hazitegemeani. For example, darasa kuwa chafu na mvua kunyesha. Hivyo vitu havitegemeani. So if you want the probability of B given A has occurred, lakini A na B ni independent event, basi probability hii itakuwa sana hivi tu. Yani the occurrence of A does not affect the probability of B to occur. Kwa hiyo this is going to happen. So the probability of B given A has occurred is just the same as the probability of B if A and B are independent events, hazitegemeani. Yeah. Now, for dependent events, itakwaje? So, if A and B are dependent events, the conditional probability of B, given that A has occurred, is defined mathematically kama hivi. Unachukua the probability of A intersection B over the probability of A. Kwa hiyo hii ndo formula ya kutafuta nini? Conditional probability. Lakini hii ni for dependent event. For independent event ndo tumesha discuss. So, this formula, remember, the probability of A should not be equal to 0. Maana A lazima iwe imeoccur. So this is a condition for this formula. So it's a formula for what? Conditional probability. Yeah. So let's solve now. I think that definition is enough. Let's solve. So nasema a couple has 2 children. So hawa ni baba na mama. They have 2 children. Okay. Now find the probability that both are boys if it is known that the older child is a boy. If it is known that the older child is a boy. So we have to find the probability that both are boys if ni condition if it is known that the older child is a boy. So let's draw a tree diagram here. A tree what? Diagram. So the first child, the older child, anaweza kawa boy au anaweza kawa girl. If the first child, the older child is a boy, the second child anaweza kawa pia boy au girl. Similarly, if the first child, yani the older child is a girl, the second child anaweza kawa boy or girl. So we have our sample space hapa. Okay, all possible events. So the two children can either be wa kwanza awe boy, wa pili boy, ndo hii BB, au wa kwanza awe boy, wa pili girl, au wa kwanza awe girl, wa pili boy, au wa kwanza awe girl, wa pili girl. So this is the all possible events. Sasa both are boys. Find the probability that both are boys. Tuseme the event kwamba both are boys ni A. Kwa hiyo ni moja tu hii hapa. Both are boys. The event that both are boys tumeita ni A. Okay, na hii event nyingine hapa tunayo anasema the older child is a boy. Tuite C. The older child is a boy. Maana mtoto wa kwanza ni boy. Kwa hiyo anaweza kaa ni BB au BG. You see this ndo the first child or the older child is a boy. So nataka find the probability that both are boys given that the older child is a boy. So this is what jamaa anataka tutafute. So we know now from our formula yetu ya conditional probability, manake itakuwa nataka hivi, the probability of A given C itakuwa sasa na probability of A intersection C over the probability of what? C. So we know that the probability of an event is just the number of elements in the event set over the number of elements in the sample space. Kwa hiyo hii sasa itakuwa ni number of element ya A intersection C over number of element ya sample space, yote gawanya kwa number of element ya C over number of element ya nini? Ya sample space, ambayo ni sasa na useme hivi over hivi times, you see, hivi over hivi. I think we can divide fractions. Hii ni form 1 sasa. So if you take huyu ajuu divide wa huyu ni sana hivi. So sample space na sample space wanaondoka. Kwa hiyo itakuwa probability sasa ya A given C manake ni N A intersection C over N C. So tusipate hizo. So hapa tulikuwa tuna A na C. You can see there kwamba A intersection C itakuwa nini? Huyu tu BB peke yake, si ndio? Yeah, so number of elements ya A intersection C ni ngapi? 1. Wakati number of element ya C ni ngapi? 1, 2. So ile conditional probability yetu sasa maana itakuwa hapa juu tumeona ni 1 ya 2. So ni nini? 0.5. Yeah. So the probability that the two children both are boys, given that the older child is a boy, jibu ndo hiyo nini? 0.5. So this was example 1. I really hope you understand it. You can go by it slowly if my method has confused you. Let's see example 2 now. Example 2 anasema a math teacher gave her class 2 tests. So 20% of the class passed both tests and 40% of the class passed the first test. What percent of those passed the first test also passed the second test? So kuna first test. So waliofaulu mtihani wa kwanza, probability ya first test ni 40%. Ukiona percent ujue ni probability. Remember, probability is never greater than 1 and it's never less than 0. Similarly, a percent is never less than 0 and never greater than 100. So it's a probability. So 20 pass both tests. Manake alipass first test na second test. Ni 20%. So find what percent of those who passed the first test also passed the second test. Kwa nataka the probability ya wale walio pass the second test kama walipass pia nini? First test. So we know our formula. Huyu atakuwa ni sawa na huyu over huyu, ambao ni 0.2 over 0.4, ambao ni sawa na 1 over 2. So the probability of those who pass the second test, given that they passed the first test also, ni 1 over 2. So anasema lakini percent. So ukibadilisha 1 over 2 into percent, ukibadilisha 1 over 2 into decimal ni 0.5, ukibadilisha into percent nini? 50%. So what percent? The answer is what? 50%. Yeah, this is example 2. Now let's see example 3. Example 3 anasema hivi, in New York State. Kwa hiyo New York State is a state in the United States of America. That's why it's called the United States, kwa sababu kuna ma state mengi kama New York yamekuwa united. So 50% of all teenagers own a skateboard. Okay, 40% of all teenagers own a skateboard and rollerblades. So skateboard nafikiri ile wanacheza nazo zile watoto wa huko Marekani. So anasema what is the probability that a teenager owns a rollerblade given that the teenager owns a skateboard? Kwa the probability kwamba ana own a skateboard ni 50%. Ambayo ni 0.4. The probability kwamba ana own a skateboard sambamba na rollerblade, samani hapa 50% ni 0.5. Okay, ukigawanya percent into decimal. So the probability that ana own a skateboard and rollerblades ni 40%. Sasa hii ndo 0.4. I think my brain was going faster than my hand pale. Ndo maana nikaandika 0.4. And then anasema, what is the probability that a teenager owns a rollerblade given that he owns a what? A skateboard. So from our formula now, hii formula ambayo tulionyesha saa zile, we can just see huku juu ni 0.4, afu huku chini ni 0.5. So the probability that a teenager owns a rollerblade given that he owns a skateboard ni 4/5 ambayo sana 0.8. So this is example 3. Now let's see example 4. Example 4 anasema the probability ya A ni 1/4. Probability of A given B ni 1/4 pia. Probability of B given A ni 2/3. So verify whether A and B are independent or mutually exclusive events. So we're going to verify if they are independent. So the probability of A given B ni sasana nini? Sana probability of A intersection B over the probability of B. Alafu the probability of B given A ni sasana the probability of A intersection B over the probability of nini? Of A. Kwa hiyo huyu aliko chini ndo anakaa chini pia. So hii A intersection B hatuna hii. Lakini huyu B given A tunaye na huyu A tunaye. So hapa sasa tutakuwa tuna probability of A intersection B ni sasana probability of B given A times probability of A. So probability of A intersection B sasa itakuwa probability of B given A ni probability of B given A ni huyu huku 2/3. Probability of A ni 1/4. Ambayo tutakuja kupata ni ngapi? 1/6. Yeah. So probability of A intersection B ni nini? Ni 1/6. Sasa probability of A given B tunaye. Probability of A intersection B tumempata hapa. You see there? What about probability of B? Ndo hatuna So probability of B sasa, if I make it the subject hapa itakuwa ni probability of A intersection B over probability of A given B. So let me do it on a fresh page now. Kwa hiyo probability of B sasa, A intersection B ni 1/6, alafu A given B ni 1/4, ambayo sasa na nini? 2/3. So it's a probability of B. So independent events zikoje? Probability of A times probability of B inabidi ikupe nini? Probability of A intersection B. This one is for what? This one is for independent events. You can remember this one tulisoma Independent event. So probability of A tulipewa kwenye swali ni 1/4. Probability of B ni hiyo tumepata. Probability of A intersection B pia tulitafuta tukapata. So if this is true, then hence proved. So by 2, 1, by 2, 2. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 over 6 is equal to what? 1 over 6. Hence what? Hence proved. Proved nini? Kwamba A and B are nini? Are independent events. Are independent events. One more thing to prove kwamba A and B are independent events ni hiki. You can see hapa tumetafuta probability of B, tumepata 2 over 3. Alafu kule kwenye swali pia tulikuwa tumepewa kwamba probability of B given A ni 2 over 3. So you can remember pale mwanzo kipindi tuna define tulisema kwamba for independent events the probability of B given A ni sawa na probability of B ambayo tumeona kwetu ni 2 over 3. Similarly, you can see kwamba probability of A given B kwenye swali tulikuwa tumepewa ni 1 over 4 na probability of A tena tulipewa ni 1 over 4. They're also the same. So this only proves kwamba these events were what? Were independent. So this is another way of proving that A and B are independent events. So maybe you could have just gone directly in the question kusema kwamba ni from the data given hii sasa na hii basi they are independent event. Although the long procedure I've done is essential for teaching. Yeah. Sasa to prove kwamba they are mutually exclusive events. So mutually exclusive events tunasema the probability ni ile inatokea kwamba one event hinders or prevents the occurrence of another event. So if two events are independent events, basi haziwezekani tena zikawa mutually exclusive events. Yeah, so this one, A and B are not mutually exclusive events. Yeah, ndo hivyo. So they are independent events, but they are not mutually exclusive events. By the way, mutually exclusive events, probability of A intersection B ilibidi iwe nini? 0. Kwa hiyo kitendo cha kwamba probability of A intersection B hapa tulishapata ni 1 over 6, tayari tulisha prove kwamba they are not mutually exclusive events. Let me say see you in the next tutorial.